Hi there, Tommy with Wasteland Maniacs. Today we'll look at the cards 51 to 60 in the first set Lovable Lunatics. Let's go! In my last card showcase video I showed you a weird dark being called Panic-Filled Horror, and when you take a look at its subtype you'll notice something unusual, the Shapeless subtype. They are a very cryptic race in the world of Wasteland Maniacs, and when we'll eventually get to the lore of this world I can present them to you in a bit more in depth. But for now, they are kinda difficult to define, hence their name, Shapeless. And this isn't a lore video, so we'll keep that for another day. In this video, I'll cover the rest of the Shapeless units in set 1, as well as some other cards. Let's go. We'll start with the thermal piece of gear. Cleaver of the Slayer only has level 2 but requires 6 power. Once in play, it wreaks havoc against decks with lower level units, since the equipped unit has the ability to unconditionally get rid of any unit with level 2 or lower. In addition to that, plus 3 attack is pretty good for a level 2 gear, even if it is a rare card. Cleaver of the Slayer is just some gear for the thermal type that embodies the oppressive, authoritarian and aggressive nature of this type. But now onto the bread and butter of this video, the Shapeless units. There are 4 more Shapeless we have to cover after the last showcase, so let's go. We'll start with Warden of the Abyss. At level 8, this unit has some very powerful abilities, with the drawback of being a 3 type unit. With a requirement of 2 electric, 1 kinetic and 1 thermal energy, this unit's energy requirement can be hard to be met, but when you do it, depending on the board state, you can win on your next turn, because when this guy comes into play, you and every other player each choose a unit, and the rest is killed. In multiplayer matches you can get political, and let all your units die to save one important unit of your opponents, that keeps your other opponents in check as well. Second ability might not be so impactful after all, but against go-wide decks that value quantity over quality of units, it's just a minor insurance without breaking the game. Especially since Warden's first ability is so powerful. But even if you let out the power of these abilities, you get a massive ranged unit. 8 HP and 6 attack are both something to be afraid of, and with some medium armor, the stats alone of this unit can be game ending. Speaking of game ending effects, let's look at an even more powerful Shapeless unit, sort of like the current leader of these guys. Sword of the Abyss lets you get rid of all units on the playing field by banishing them. That alone is pretty devastating, but lackluster for level 12. So you get to deal 4 damage to all opponents, putting you in a pretty good place health-wise. And to further your deck's damage potential, Lord of the Abyss gives a stat boost to all your Shapeless units you play afterwards, with plus 3 attack and plus 1 health for all your annihilation needs. And to guarantee that this will be the case, you can include the next card in your deck, Trailblazer of the Lords. For a level 5 unit, this card's stats are abysmal. Barely any armor, generally stats that would make for an okay level 3 unit, no keywords to compensate for this. But that isn't why you would play this card. When this thing comes into play, you just grab a level 9 or higher unit from your pile. So this is your unit you don't play turn 5 unless you absolutely have to. You play this late game so you can pick up your finisher for the game that you will easily play next turn. Especially since this is an electric unit, and with an electric deck you have access to accelerants like battery. Now lastly we have a small and simple Shapeless unit. Scion of the Lords is fairly average with no abilities. It is just a normal level 2 thermal unit that can be used as an early game drop to have something on the board, and in a Shapeless deck where you can buff its stats, this can be very efficient in the late game. Just imagine you have a lot of the Abyss out and play this guy. You only pay 2 energy for a unit with 5 attack and 2 HP. But overall this is just a very simple unit. Now we get to an absolute favorite card of mine in terms of abilities and artwork. I present to you Soulblazer. We'll start off with the stats. 5 attack and especially 4 HP are terrible for a level 7 hybrid unit. The armor is okay and a power stat of 9 is just great. At first it might look like this unit isn't that great, but wait for it. It has 2 abilities that are just fantastic. The first is a keyword called Pain Chain. It means that whenever Soulblazer deals combat damage to a unit, so when it attacks or counterattacks, you get to deal 2 damage to that unit's controller. So your opponent takes damage no matter what, unless they deal with them outside of combat, which there aren't a lot of ways of currently. And then during combat, Soulblazer must be dealt with fast. As long as each of their units deal more than 2 damage each, you can technically kill Soulblazer with spam, but I wouldn't recommend it as it would decimate your board and hand, because a neat little ability triggers each kill. You can either draw a card, which is something the thermal type does only rarely and boosts Soulblazer's attack, or you force one of your opponents to discard a card and boost Soulblazer's HP this way. The second option is also such a threat against decks with multiple smaller units, as you can just chew right through them and get healthier along the way. I really like how the artwork turned out, and I think at Legendary this is a fairly balanced, if powerful card. Now let's get to another unit, Reflexus the Stabber. Although he has a name, this guy is neither unique nor exceptionally powerful. He is just a regular electric melee unit with bleed. He has a fair share of armor, which compensates for the single hit point, and with 3 attack is very aggressive as a source of bleed damage. Card number 58 is a thermal skill designed to give you some room to breathe. At level 5, Smoke Grenade can be used by any class, and in a melee focused deck can be quite benefiting. It prevents your opponents from doing anything range related until your next turn, and even hybrid skills are hindered this way. For example, you couldn't play Smoke Grenade. It is a melee skill but also hybrid and ranged. The same goes for Lightning Scan, and of course skills like Bullet Storm are forbidden as well. The skill that is not affected however by this is Slash, and it is the most basic skill you can have. It is a level 1 kinetic skill that lets you deal 1 damage to 1 unit or player. It can be used to get rid of low armor on an enemy unit, or to kill off weaker units, or just for a bit of extra range against your opponent's health total. The last card for today is Sigil of the Potato. It is a typeless piece of gear that renders a unit you don't control useless essentially. It can't use skills, its activated abilities might not exist altogether, and attacking is of no use since it deals no damage anymore. So a neat piece of disruption you can stuff into any deck since this card is typeless. If you like what you see, consider liking and subscribing, and with that I say thanks for watching, take care, and until next time.